Hello there. Nigel Farage has doubled down on his claims that his Brexit Party candidates were offered all manner of rewards if they stood down before the upcoming general election. The Brexit Party leader, Nigel Farage, has reasserted his claims that his candidates for the general election were offered inducements by Conservative Party bosses of jobs and peerages if they agreed to stand aside in favour of Tory candidates. According to The Guardian, telephone calls did take place, but the Tories are saying no offers of jobs or peerages were made. And talking to the Sky News Sophy Ridge programme, the Tory Security Minister Brandon Lewis said, "No one has been offered jobs or anything like that. There have been no job offers. We have done no deals with anybody." But speaking to PNA's Politics on the BBC, Nigel Farage said, "Is he calling Anne Widdecombe a liar? Perhaps he is, I don't know. Anne Widdecombe made it perfectly clear she received 2 phone calls from a senior official in Number 10, offering her a job on the negotiating team if she stood down as an election candidate. Fact." And he went on to say that Anne Widdecombe was a very honest woman, something he said no one would disagree with. Then he added that the PM's senior advisor, Eddie Lister, had phoned up the Brexit Party's candidate for Peterborough and offered him a job in higher education if he stood aside. There was actually a package put together in which 8 senior figures of the Brexit Party would go to the House of Lords and be offered a place in the negotiating team, said Farage, adding, "It's corruption." The Metropolitan Police Service said it had received 2 allegations of electoral fraud and malpractice in relation to the 2019 general election, and that both allegations are currently being assessed. And while this is going on, Boris Johnson's government has been accused of sitting on a report relating to possible Russian attempts to subvert the 2016 EU referendum result. The Cross-Party Intelligence and Security Committee report has been 18 months in the writing and was completed just prior to the election being called. Now that a general election purdah period is in place, the government is claiming that it would be irregular for them to publish the report. But of course the opposition is calling foul and demanding the report be released. But the Times managed to get a copy of the report and says about it, "Russian interference may have had an impact on the Brexit referendum, but the effect was unquantifiable, according to a parliamentary report suppressed by Number 10. But the Shadow Foreign Secretary Emily Thornberry said, "If it is correct that our security services have been unable to reach a conclusion about the extent or impact of Russian interference in the 2016 referendum, then it raises serious questions which require serious answers." Maybe the serious answer is that nothing much, if anything, happened. But I think the biggest question for Labour should be, how on earth is it that my hardline, Marxist, momentum-led Labour Party isn't getting the secret Russian backing it used to get, which it so needs and deserves today? After all, Labour is the party of cutting defence and demoralising troops by supporting the nation's enemies and chasing our soldiers through the courts, isn't it? Or maybe it is getting such support, and Labour top dogs just want to deflect our attention. Now for an update on where the political parties stand in the polls as we approach the general election. Today I've got several polls for you that all point in the same direction, which is that on their current trajectory the Tories will win very comfortably and that the Labour Party is going to take a king-sized hammering. Firstly, we go over to YouGov and take a look at the trend over the last 5 of their polls. You can see from this graph where the blue bar on the left of each party grouping shows the result of the last poll. This shows that the Tories now have a huge 17-point lead with a potential vote share of 45% compared to Labour in second place with just 28%. You have to go back to the 6th of July 2017 to find a point at which any political party was polling above this level, and that was when the Labour Party was on 46% and the Tories were trailing by 8 points with 38%. While the self-proclaimed party of Remain, the Lib Dems, are well behind on 15%. With the Brexit Party lying in fourth place, Nigel Farage's party is now on just 4% of the vote, having been hammered by pulling out of over half the available seats, which has affected their overall available vote share. And the Greens have gained a couple of points to get to 6%, and the rest pick up the final 7%. Next comes the very recent Survation poll that tells a very similar story. The Conservative Party is 14 points ahead in this poll, with 42% compared to Labour's 28%, while the Lib Dems lag behind on 13% and the Brexit Party scores just 5%. And further, an opinion poll puts the Tories on 44%, Labour 16 points behind on 28%, the Lib Dems on 14%, with the Brexit Party on 6%, the SNP on 4%, the Greens on 3% and Plaid on 1%. While Flammable Politics has put out a seat projection by political party for all seats excluding Northern Ireland that looks like this. The Tories would gain an extra 80 seats to stand on 398, with Labour losing 105 to give them just 157 MPs. Should this come about, the Tories would have a majority of 146, without factoring in such things as any Sinn Féin MPs who refuse to take their seats, and that of the Speaker. And the Labour Party response to all this, it seems, is just to offer more undeliverable free stuff and green economy revolutions on a daily basis. And if one Express report is to be believed, Labour plans to put in place state control of food prices and to tax the average driver off the road. Don't they realise that there comes a point when even the most ardent Marxist socialist realises that these policies are just blatantly undeliverable, unless, that is, you secretly intend on taxing every company and person in the country 100% of their profit, income and assets, which would in most cases be extremely unpopular even with their hardcore supporters. Poll results like these have led the Express to say that the Labour Party's so-called red wall around their heartlands of the Midlands and the North is collapsing. And when you have Reuters quoting lifelong Labour voters despairingly saying they'll have to vote Tory to get what they want, then you know that Jeremy Corbyn is in deep and dire trouble. Think about it. Those traditional Labour voters aren't even listening to or believing that Corbyn will or can tax the rich Tories to give them all the free stuff he and his Momentum crowd are offering. And a Survation poll for ITV's Good Morning Britain found that nearly 3 times as many people see Boris Johnson as the better candidate for Prime Minister than Jeremy Corbyn. 47% favoured Boris, 17% went for Corbyn, and 15% chose the Lib Dem leader Jo Swinson. Now, before I sign off, I just want to point out that Boris Johnson has stated that all his parliamentary candidates have promised to back his plan to deliver Brexit, and some are tweeting pictures like this. And Boris told The Telegraph that all 635 Conservative candidates standing at this election, every single one of them, has pledged to me that if elected they will vote in Parliament to pass my Brexit deal so we can end the uncertainty and finally leave the EU. I am offering a pact with the people. If you vote Conservative, you can be 100% sure a majority Conservative government will unblock Parliament and get Brexit done. Now, can anyone remind me what was in the last Tory and Labour Party manifestos regarding Brexit and delivering on the wishes of the people to leave the EU, and how rigidly they did everything but deliver on that promise? And I wonder how long it will take to flush out any remaining anti-Brexit Tory MPs into the open as the 31st of January approaches, because I still think that the majority of MPs in the House of Commons will be pro-Remain even after this Brexit election. Not because the people who voted for them are pro-Remain, but because the local party members who put them there are. Anyway, what do you think? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.